Hello, everybody, and welcome to People Always Ask. It is here that we are doing our very, very important episode on how to apologize. That's what we're focused on today, folks. And so, if you are watching this because you need to apologize, or because maybe you're thinking you need to teach somebody how to apologize, so welcome. You're very welcome. I take your questions. I'm very, very open to having a conversation about how to do this. But before we get into when to apologize, let's talk about when not to apologize really, really quick, because I don't want you doing things that are going to disrespect yourself. So the first rule to this is really important, which is you never need to apologize for a feeling that you had. You never go, hey, I'm sorry, I'm so depressed. I'm sorry that, I really was upset that day. We're not having apologies for that. You can explain that. You can apologize for impact, but we're never apologizing for just having a feeling. We're also not apologizing for existence. We're not apologizing for doing things that we are obligated to do. We're not apologizing for setting healthy boundaries, right? So we really want to make sure that we're clear that these apologies are for people who deserve apologies. These are not apologies just for anybody and their mom. So hopefully if you are giving an apology, it wasn't one of those. And so we can proceed safely to the next part of our journey, which is how to apologize. And it's really not that difficult, but some people have had to have a hard time. And you know what gets in the way? Pride and defensiveness. And so if you need to apologize, the odds are that something's happened that might have triggered you too. So maybe the first thing that we need to start with is the first part of an apology is talking about whatever it is that you feel. You got to have a feeling phrase. I'm getting scared. I'm worried that something's going to happen. I feel unappreciated. I feel like you're lecturing me or you're belittling me. Put your feeling in there. If you don't, it won't feel fair to you. And also maybe your sort of expression of whatever was going on that you're apologizing for really won't be addressed, or whatever it was that was going on in the first part is not really gonna really feel better for both of you. And so when we're looking at an apology, we're not just looking at sorry, we're also looking for a repair. That's ideal. And so for most of us, a repair is gonna include feeling better on both ends. So when we get to the next part's the obvious part. Say sorry. And when you say sorry, be specific. So we don't want a sorry, and we also don't want a sarcastic sorry. We want an apology that sounds something like, my reactions were too extreme. I'm sorry. Maybe, how can I make things better? Because I can see you're upset now, and I'm sorry. We want it to be as specific as we can because we want people to believe us. And honestly, if we're not specific, it's really hard to believe people. We're just saying generals, well, I want you to feel good. Do you? Because right now I feel pretty bad, right? And so that kind of brings us to the next part of what a repair really looks like. You need to sort of point out if you hear the other person's side at all. So if you're apologizing for something, usually there's two sides to the story. There's what it is that your original thought was that you had to say sorry for here, and then there's whatever the other person is feeling. And so we want to get to the point where both of you guys can at least say, yeah, we get it. We understand each other in this argument. So just get there somehow. Acknowledge what the other person is feeling. And if you have no idea what the other person's feeling and you're apologizing, back up anyway, because what are you even apologizing for? But the more important part here is that you need to figure out what it is so that you can even get on the same page about what the heck just happened here. We shouldn't just be throwing out apologies because we see a teardrop. Sometimes people are upset and there's nothing to apologize for. That's what we mentioned in the first part. Some people, they're just upset because, you're around them and it feels overwhelming. Maybe somebody's upset because you're going to leave and they're scared you're going to leave them every time you leave the house. Those things you don't have to apologize for. But you do need to ask, well, what are your concerns? Can I hear what you're saying, at least? Because we may not actually agree on the thing, but what I can apologize for is if I really understand if I could walk around in your brain a little bit, then I can try to see and empathize with what it is that you're saying. And I need to reflect that. I need to say, hey, listen, the problem is that this is going on for you, and that seems really serious. Like, I actually hear that. Also, let's acknowledge if you need to take a break. Don't say sorry when you're angry. That's not going to seem genuine because it probably won't be. Acknowledge when you need to take a break. And when I say a break, I mean no longer than a day. Some people think it's like a good idea to take a break for like a month before they get back to the apology. Usually, what happens then there's a little too much time, and absence does not make the heart grow fonder. And so then the relational part of it is less important. And the apology just feels a little different because now both of you have had time to be defensive and to think about it. You want to get to it within at the most 24 hours. At the least, let's get like 20 minutes. Let's leave so I can calm my body down and then come back. So the other thing is that if you need to calm down and you need something from the other person, you got to kind of be clear about what that is. Maybe you need them to say that they love you because you're scared that they don't. You're sorry. You understand that your reaction was overwhelming. You see where they're coming from. You need to hear that they love you. Okay, that's how you calm down in that situation. So let's move on to the next part. Stop the actual back and forth argument that you're about to get into, right? And try to acknowledge whatever the heck you're feeling. Tell the truth and move on. Tell people what it is that's going on. Let's start over. I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling flooded, overwhelmed. All those things are fair game if you feel like it's too much for you. And you just want to say, hey, I'm sorry that I'm treating you this way. I'm sorry that this thing happened, but we're in this and I'm overwhelmed. Be honest. Stop it. Take a break like we were talking about before. Just try to keep it grounded while you tell them why you need a break. And this part is really important here. Try to tell them what you actually can appreciate about what they are telling you. You can appreciate that maybe it's hard to tell you, that you know it actually maybe isn't their fault, that even though you're having this reaction and it might be hard for them to hear that they're staying in the game with you, let people know that you're happy that even though there's something going on between you, you want to repair the relationship, or you want to repair, even if it's with your job and there's something you need to apologize for at work, even if it's President Trump in America. You want people to know that what's important to you is that you understand the ways in which they're valid in feeling that something's happened between the two of you, that something's broken between the two of you, and they can feel that, and that you genuinely can see and appreciate that they're coming to you with any type of concern, or that they are the person that they are, or that you have the relationship that you have, or that other things are true and valid about what they're coming to you with. Always, always appreciation, validation. That's the key. Now, in an apology, it's easy to talk too much, so don't overdo it. I know, y'all, you're going to over-explain. Try not to let the other person get a thing in before they, say something that you didn't say and they get defensive. You have to expect when you're apologizing, sometimes things won't go perfectly. Hold on to your groundedness. That means you have to just take a breath and count to 10 before you speak, so that the next thing that you say sounds like an apology and not an over-explanation of why you did what you did. An apology is not an explanation of why. It's an atonement. It's a repair. And so even if we don't fix it, we got to fix us. And so what also is going to be important at the end of this is you ask if they need something from you. This is an action-oriented step, you guys. If you have an apology too many times, it becomes empty. And so at the end of this conversation, of this apology conversation, which doesn't have to be that long, the biggest thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is asking if there is anything that you can do to make it better. And give space for the answer. Maybe there isn't. You have to accept the possibility that you won't be forgiven. And for all of you who are watching this who feel like you need to apologize or you want to be forgiven, something that I encourage you to do is to think about the best version of yourself. I don't know where they show up. They might show up when you're with your best friends. They might show up when you're creating. They might show up when you're doing something in your business. But the best parts of you. And I want you to walk that version of yourself through the worst case scenario of apologizing to whoever you got to apologize to. And think, if I go through the worst case scenario here, where I don't get I get it, and yeah, I accept your apology, and I don't just have people accept what I'm saying, what do I want to do about it? How would the best version of me handle a bad situation. It may not seem like something that's going to be helpful in the moment, but you want to walk yourself through things that are going to be scary and overwhelming for you before they happen. You don't want to jump into an apology feeling like you need to apologize urgently. Meanwhile, you're going to get defensive if it doesn't go the way that you want it to. Because the basic thing about an apology that everybody should know is that you should never apologize just to make yourself feel better. So you have to accept the possibility that it's not going to go perfectly, or else your expectations are setting you up for failure here, and we want to set you up for success as usual. So for now, let's just review, because this is not a very long one, guys, and it doesn't need to be, right? We don't need to sit here all night to tell you how to apologize. This is a short game. Don't overdo it. Try to stay present, try to stay in the game, and tell them what you're feeling. If you're hurt and you're defensive, try to be clear about what's going on for you. Part one of the apology is to tell them the truth. Try to stay grounded, stay in the game. Next part is going to be really just acknowledging what it is that you're sorry for. Be specific. That's always better than being general. Well, I'm sorry is not as good as I'm sorry because I understand that I did this or my temper went too high. Let's get specific with our apologies. Tell the person what you appreciate about them. Try to come to a middle ground because you can understand where they're coming from and you express that. And always ask them what they need. Always ask them what they need, if they need anything, if anything can be done to make it better. And give them space to answer. So the giving them space to answer part might make you anxious, but remember the tip, breathe and count to 10 before you say anything. You don't know how this is going to go. But the best version of you can give it space for your partner to accept your apology, where you don't have to get defensive, you don't have to over-explain, you don't have to get anxious. And if they don't accept the apology, that you're able to really tolerate that in whatever way you feel like your best self would, without flipping out, blowing up, getting upset. All of those things are going to be very important in this game. And sometimes it's hard because we don't feel acknowledged, but that's why we start the apology with a feeling. Validate yourself and then move through the steps of making sure that they are acknowledged, understood, appreciated. And if you can, that you get to a point where it feels better for both of you because you figured out what you need for repair. And repairing a relationship is really the name of the game. It's not just about saying sorry. And so I like to call it the process of initiating a repair. Not that you're fixing it all alone, but you're going to initiate it. Maybe the person won't step up and they'll do the dance where you get to repair the relationship the way you want it to. But somebody's got to step up for the repair. And if not, you'll feel it right here in your body. Something's wrong between you guys. Something's wrong at your job, or something's wrong between you and your community, or something's wrong between you and an individual. You will feel it in your body until you do the repair work. And if they're not going to step up to do it, guess what? You have to. And so repairs can look like a lot of things, but they start with a feeling and they follow with an I'm sorry, and they end with a what do you need? What do you need to make this better? So now, as I forgot to do last episode, but I shall do this episode, I am going to pull a tarot card to see what lesson the universe has for us about giving an apology, because I never know how to end things. And so this is always the easiest way for me, is to let the ancestors do it for me. So I'm shuffling you guys. And the card that I'm getting is the Dark Lovers card, which is appropriate because we're talking about apologies. And so let's get to the Dark Lovers and what the lessons are behind them. You know what? Did I even show y'all the card? No, I didn't. Here it is. Dark Lovers. That's what's coming up. How to apologize the right way. And so when we're thinking about lessons around apologies, the lessons that this card has for us around it is that sometimes your relationship will be tested. There'll be things such as emotional or sexual rejection that might cause you to overreact and question the nature or the solidness of your relationship. Be aware of the dark side in relationships where you fear abandonment. And an apology, this is actually a really valid point in terms of a Dark Lover card coming up. Some of us fear abandonment, and so when we apologize, we're not ready for the possibility that things won't go the way that we want. That is absolutely a reflection of a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection. So the dark lovers card here makes total sense. If you're apologizing, avoid the sins of this card, because I'm saying this is going real well. And if it doesn't go well, sometimes you have to go your separate ways and accept it. And that's also what a dark lovers card represents, is that sometimes if your relationship's being tested, the answer is that it might be ending. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to apologize, but it does mean that if you initiate a repair and it doesn't go well, you have to accept an ending. And if you fight it, you'll be in the dark parts of love. So for now, that is all on how to apologize. No matter what, take a breath, count to 10, let them respond. Don't overdo, ask what they need, and avoid all the warnings of the dark lovers, all of the things that come along with jealousy, rejection, fear of abandonment that might get in your way of just giving a good, authentic, and open, grounded apology, because it doesn't do anything good to your relationship to bring fear and shame into it. And if you don't remember anything else, just remember shame's not a helpful emotion. So if you feel it and you feel the need to apologize because you've done something, that's fine, but you are still okay. You as a human being are still fine, even if you've made a real moral dilemma happen. So take the opportunity to watch this over. Take the validity in what you feel, but also initiate a repair if there needs to be one, knowing that maybe it won't always be able to happen. All right, you guys, try to spread some love, try to make some repairs. I hope somebody in some family or in some relationship can use this today. And everybody, I hope you have a wonderful week. Next week, we will be talking about how to take a break in a relationship. What's a good break? What's a bad break? Does a break mean a breakup? How we do it so it doesn't actually end up being the most unhealthy thing in the entire world. We're going to talk about it because people always ask me next week. I'll see you right here, 7:30 on Thursday on Young Boss Media. Thanks for watching.